am a member of two unions that are currently on strike, the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA. So I have been thinking a lot about work, what it means to have a job. If you're lucky, your job can bring you joy and purpose and maybe a sheet cake from the grocery store once a year on your birthday. If nothing else, hopefully it pays you a living wage. And in this country, perhaps most importantly, a job is supposed to provide you with health insurance. I strongly believe a job should provide that sheet cake. Yes, chocolate is preferred. But I have some serious choice words for whoever decided that an American's health care should be tied to their employment. The quality of the office supplies you steal, the awkward compulsory holiday party, the boring yet addictive gossip, these are all things that should be tied to employment. But having to decide if it's worth it to have a doctor look at your weird mole, that should have nothing to do with your 9 to 5. Being proficient at Excel should not be a prerequisite for going to the dentist. Our bodies are not perfect. They were not designed to be. They are hairy and squishy and disgusting and definitely make sounds that, maybe occasionally you want a second opinion on. And our society would be a better place if there wasn't a work requirement for your health. We are all entitled to health, and I'm so sick of the barriers we continuously put up to bar people from care that will make their life better. You should not worry that when you lose your TV show, you might never get to see a doctor again. You're already worried you might never work again. No, just me. Okay. Look, when you lose your job to a robot, you shouldn't have to worry that you'll never be able to see a doctor again. Robots don't even need health care. When they get sick, you just stick them in a bowl of rice. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. Joining me today is the very funny and truly wonderful Rob Delaney of Catastrophe, Deadpool, and Twitter fame. And as an American who has made a home in England, he constantly uses his voice to champion Britain's National Health Service, which provides public health care for its citizens. I loved talking to him. So take a listen and make good choices. It is such a gift, I feel like, that you said yes to me. I'm so damn excited to talk to you.
I'm a gift receiver. No, this is wonderful. Thank you.
I don't know if you know how big a fan I am of yours, but I truly am.
Oh my God.
I feel like, anyways, we have a tremendous amount to talk about. And I just finished, I read your book, A Heart That Works.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you.
We are going to talk all about that because it really is. It's a magnificent book.
Thank you.
But first and foremost, I want to talk about choice with you, and then we'll get into all the other stuff.
Okay.
What is your relationship like to the idea of choice? Like, are you good at making decisions? Were you good and now you're not good, or are you just like great at it?
No, I'm better at it now in that I don't stress out to the point of pain because I know by now to make the decisions from a place of like caring and love. So I feel like that kind of makes it that there wouldn't be a wrong decision. You know what I mean? If you like allow for the possibility that like, hey, I might be making a mistake, but I'm not doing it out of selfishness or idiocy or because I'm high on horse tranquilizers, then it's probably gonna be okay. And then also as I've gotten older, I've become a lot more comfortable with doing nothing. When we're younger, I think a classic example would be like, we all know now, unfortunately, what a crisis PR team is when something happens and people are like, oh God, what do I do? And so frequently in those situations, what you can do is nothing.
Right.
And people will forget pretty quickly. Like, I remember when Michael Phelps got caught smoking pot, and he got
Right.
dropped by all these people that sponsored him. And I was like, that is so foolish, because very quickly people are going to forget that he smoked pot, but they're never, ever going to forget that to date, he's the best swimmer that ever lived by a wide
Right.
margin. And you
Right.
will have severed your relationship with him. So a lot of times it's like, just hang back, you know.
I feel like someone in my family said sometimes the best thing to do is nothing.
Big time.
And that is, I agree with you, that is a very hard place to get to. Like, where you're like,
Yeah.
hold steady.
Yeah.
Things will reveal themselves.
Yeah. And we recently, as a family, went through a big choice slash non-choice, where we've lived in the UK for 9 years, and we moved here from Los Angeles.
Hmm.
We spent a couple weeks in April in Los Angeles for
Right.
the first time in a long time, all five of us. And we had a great time. We saw a
Mm.
bunch of old friends. We were in the ocean and the canyons and the mountains, and we were thinking, this is pretty great. And we thought, should we move back here?
Oh,
And we kind of thought, maybe we should, and our boys could be outside.
yeah.
There's a lot that's great about London.
Hmm.
One of those things is not the fact that the sun sets at 3:30 p.m. for 5 months of the year.
Hmm.
If you look at a map, we're like at the same latitude as like Newfoundland in Canada.
Oh,
We're not
God.
just
Okay.
across the street. It's not like Boston, it's Newfoundland.
Right.
So, to give people an idea, it's like nearly Swedish. And so that stinks, right? And we've got three feral boys who we would like to have outside. My wife is like a triathlete camper. Like, she takes us, she's like, do you want to go camping? And I'm like, okay. And I go, and she starts the fires and everything.
Right. She's like,
And
you sleep on a mat. It's great for your back. You're like,
yeah.
mhm.
And so we thought, hey, man, LA might be the place. And so we began to make serious preparations to do so.
Oh.
And then, as they say here, a couple family members began to wobble
Mm.
in their decision. And then I was like, all right, everybody, listen, we don't have to do this. We gotten some momentum going. Like, we'd even got spots for the boys at the local
Wow.
public schools and stuff. But then we were like, we don't have to do this. And so we like ultra scrutinized London and
Hmm.
LA, and we kind of came to the decision, they're both great, but we already live here and have 9 years worth of amazing friendships, and there's a lot that's great about it.
Hmm.
And I mean, you can get to anywhere in Europe by, it's
Yes.
a hop, skip, and a jump, as my mom would say. And so there's a lot to love. And our son Henry, who I'm sure we'll talk about today,
Hmm.
he was born here, lived his whole life, and died here.
Hmm.
And so, like, I like to go to the parks that were
Right.
at the playgrounds that he slid down and stuff. And I like to see people who knew him and held him and read
Hmm.
to him. And so there's a lot that we love about here. And we decided to stay.
And you decided to stay.
Yeah.
How much buy-in did you like? So your sons, they were as much a participant in the decision as you and your wife. Did you weight
Yeah.
everybody's opinion equally?
No.
Okay.
We weighted the parents higher,
Hmm.
uh, but we did. The older boys, we definitely involved them and cared what they thought. Our 10-year-old was like, "Well, I'll be better at soccer than every other American 10-year-old, so that'll be cool." And then when we told him, because over here, like, there, it's like going from Krypton to Earth, because
Right.
just everybody here plays soccer at all times.
Right.
So it's not that my kids are naturally born gifted. It's just that they are never not playing it.
Hmm.
So whenever they play in America, they just destroy kids,
Right.
ruin relationships, tear families apart. It's awesome. But then when we decided we were going to stay, he was like, "Oh, well, you know what? Then it'll be easier for me to get scouted by Arsenal because that's definitely going to happen. And so he'll be able to join a Premier League team easier now that we're staying here."
Right. Right. Perfect. It was like Canadian kids in hockey. It's like so.
Totally.
I mean, I grew up in Canada. My husband grew up in Canada. Like he just plays hockey at a
Yeah.
level that when he comes down here and
Yeah.
plays like like
Yeah.
afternoon hockey with people who are on college teams, he
Yeah.
kicks their asses. Just like it's like in
Oh
the
God.
DNA. It's just,
That's so sexy.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and also the healthcare, which we'll also talk about healthcare today, but you do
Yeah.
have
Oh,
that
forget about it. Yeah, it's
robust
so great.
healthcare
And
system.
we have bad people in charge here. I mean, real scumbags.
Really, yeah.
But the fact is even though they're whittling away at the NHS, it's so just weaved into the culture that it'll take them a while to do it. So still to date, I mean, you would definitely rather break your leg here
Oh, yeah.
or get cancer. I was going to say get shot, but that doesn't happen here.
No.
Another positive.
Get tapped with a
Um,
baton.
yeah, you might get batoned,
Hmm.
but not with a gun. So yeah.
Is there a choice that you can pinpoint in your life, like even a small thing that you feel changed
Hmm.
your life in ways that are surprising to you? Like it doesn't have to be something small.
Yeah,
Just
there's
like,
definitely one with like there's one that's like fairy tale. I mean, definitely could be like one of the happier grim tales.
hmm.
Not one. There's no children in cages. No one gets eaten. But it is oh Henry enough in its sort of majesty. Where when I first got sober 21 years ago, after a car accident, I started going to meetings and stuff. And after a year, when I had been sober a year, I remember I saw this skinny, smelly junkie um, at a meeting, and he goes, I had a Red Sox hat on. He goes, "Oh, I'm from Boston." And I was like, "Cool, smelly, emaciated guy." But I didn't say that. I stuck my hand out. I was like, "Hey, I'm Rob," and we spoke, and I gave him my phone number because he was like just trying to get sober,
Right.
and I had been the beneficiary of amazing TLC from wonderful people, and so I did the same thing that had been done to me, and so I gave him my number, and then I never heard from him.
Oh,
A year later, so now I've been sober 2 years. I'm at that same meeting, and this just Adonis, this tanned, muscular guy comes up to me. He's beautiful. I'm excited that he's approaching me. Is he going to talk to me or the guy behind me?
right.
And he says, "Hey, Rob." And I'm like, "Yeah, yes." He goes, "A year ago, I was this skinny, smelly junkie. And right here, you introduced yourself to me." And I was like, "Oh my God,"
What?
couldn't believe it was the same guy. He goes, "Well, I've been sober for a year now, and I lost your number when you gave it to me, but I'd wanted to call you." And this guy's just thriving,
Right.
and we become friendly. And he tells me that before he got addicted to pills and stuff, he had started a camp for people with disabilities, and he wanted to know if I wanted to be a counselor at it. And so I was like, "Yeah." And
Right.
so I started working at this camp for adults and kids with cerebral palsy and Down syndrome and stuff that he had spent years doing before. Anyway, I wound up meeting the woman who is now my wife at this camp. Um,
Wow.
so because I was like, "Hey, smelly junkie," that directly led to meeting my wife. Much later,
Yeah.
and then having my children that I'm hiding from right now, and
Yes.
so that's one thing. We're just doing a little thing, I mean, that took close to no effort,
Right.
just being nice, and had a domino effect that it changed my life very dramatically.
Oh my God, that's a beautiful story. That's a
Isn't
great
that
story. That's
crazy?
crazy. And to think You know, that a year later, he was still thinking about you. So not only did your decision to just kind of reach out to someone who you wouldn't normally give the time of
Yeah.
day to, it changed your life, but it changed his too, because he kept you in his mind, was thinking about you,
Yeah.
and had the wherewithal to be like, hello, hello, you.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about the time I
Yeah.
lost your number a year ago. That's amazing.
Just goes to show, there's no little act that, you never know.
You
It can
never
have
know.
just bonkers consequences.
Want to listen to the rest of this episode? Head over to your favorite podcast player to hear the entire show. I highly recommend it.